The Syndicate Alliance had ruled the known galaxy for 10,000 cycles without serious challenge. Their perfect hierarchy, their unified consciousness, their technological supremacy, all of it seemed unassailable. Until they met humans. Admiral Zextal stood at the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, his primary sensory stalks wavering slightly as he processed the latest intelligence reports. The primitive species they discovered in the Sol system shouldn't have posed any threat. Their technology was centuries behind the Alliance's. Their society was chaotic and fragmented. Their very biology was inefficient, requiring constant rest cycles and individual sustenance. Yet somehow, they'd managed to detect and destroy 3 of his stealth reconnaissance vessels in the past solar rotation. Impossible, by any reasonable calculation. High Commander, his second-in-command's thought patterns rippled through the ship's neural network. The humans have launched another missile salvo. Our predictive matrices show a 99.9% chance of interception. Zextal's feeding tentacles curled in satisfaction. Finally, a return to normalcy. The humans had gotten lucky before, but luck always ran out against superior capability. The missiles approached, following exactly the projected trajectories. Defense systems engaged automatically, quantum fields reaching out to disrupt the primitive chemical propulsion systems. Nothing happened. High Commander. The neural network blazed with alarm patterns. The missiles, they're not using any propulsion system we recognize. They're still coming. Zextal's consciousness expanded to directly interface with the ship's sensors. The human weapons were impossible, they violated every known law of physics. They moved without apparent propulsion, changed direction without inertial effects, and somehow remained completely invisible to their most sophisticated detection systems. Then the first missile struck. The Eternal Dominion's impenetrable shields might as well have been vapor for all the resistance they offered. A precise hit to the main power core sent cascading failures through every system. As emergency protocols engaged and the bridge crew prepared to abandon ship, Zextal received a transmission on all frequencies. The voice spoke in perfect high syndicate. "This is Commander James Chen of the Earth Defense Force. That was a warning shot. We have your ship's exact position and capability to destroy it instantly. You will withdraw from Sol space immediately or be destroyed. You have 5 minutes to comply." Zextal's secondary brain began calculating probabilities while his primary consciousness processed the implications. The humans shouldn't have been able to penetrate their stealth technology. Shouldn't have been able to bypass their shields. Shouldn't have been able to speak their language. Yet they had done all 3. And somehow, they had developed weapons that defied the very laws of physics the Alliance had built their empire upon. High Commander, his second's thoughts carried traces of fear now. "What are your orders?" Before Zextal could respond, another human transmission came through, 4 minutes remaining. The humans were giving them a chance to retreat. It was inefficient. Irrational. The Alliance would never show such mercy to an inferior force. They would simply eliminate the threat. But then, everything about humans seemed to defy rational expectation. "Begin withdrawal procedures," Zextal commanded through the neural network. "All ships, immediate retreat to minimum safe distance for full space transition." As the mighty Syndicate fleet turned and fled from a single damaged human vessel, Zextal devoted a portion of his consciousness to composing his report to the High Council. How could he explain that the most powerful civilization in known space had been forced to retreat by a species that still used chemical rockets for routine space travel? The humans had done more than defeat them militarily, they had shattered the Alliance's fundamental understanding of reality itself. If humans could develop technology that ignored the laws of physics, what other impossible things might they achieve? Back on Earth, Commander James Chen allowed himself a small smile as he watched the alien fleet retreat. The impossible missiles had been nothing more than elaborate holographic projections combined with a single precisely targeted electromagnetic pulse. Earth's actual defensive capabilities were far more limited than they'd made the aliens believe. But he'd learned long ago that perception often mattered more than reality. The aliens thought they understood everything about how the universe worked. Their certainty was their weakness, they couldn't conceive of being wrong. Humans, on the other hand, had built their civilization on constantly questioning their assumptions. Every scientific advancement came from someone asking, what if we're wrong about this? Every technological breakthrough started with, the book says this is impossible, but let's try anyway. That was humanity's true advantage. Not superior technology or biology or social organization. Simply the willingness to admit they might be wrong, and to keep trying new things anyway. Chen opened a channel to Earth Defense Command. Operation Smoke and Mirrors successful. The Syndicate fleet is in full retreat. Recommend we begin Phase 2 immediately. Confirmed, Commander. Well done. How long do you think we have before they figure out we bluffed them? Hard to say. But by then, it won't matter. They'll be too busy trying to understand how we did it to realize that we didn't do anything at all. Their own assumptions will keep them chasing shadows while we prepare our real defenses. Classic human ingenuity, the voice from command chuckled. Using an enemy's strength against them. Chen nodded, though no one could see it. That's the thing about humans. We don't play by the rules, we change the game entirely. As his ship set course for Earth, Chen reflected that humanity's greatest strength had always been its greatest weakness as well, the inability to accept limitations. Where other species saw immutable laws, humans saw challenges to overcome. Where others sought to understand the universe, humans sought to reshape it. The Syndicate Alliance had ruled through perfect order and understood laws. They were about to learn that chaos and uncertainty could be far more powerful, in the right hands. The real war hadn't even begun. But humanity had already won the first battle, not through superior force or technology, but through the one weapon no other species seemed to possess, imagination. The quantum computing labs beneath MIT's campus hummed with possibility. Dr. Marcus Wong stood before the crystalline structure of humanity's latest weapon, though the Syndicate Alliance would never recognize it as such. They were too focused on searching for impossible missiles and physics-defying technology to notice humanity's real advance. System check complete, announced Dr. Reena Patel, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. Quantum coherence holding at 99.8%. We're ready for the next test. Marcus nodded, his eyes fixed on the display showing the quantum processor's neural architecture. While the Alliance searched Earth's skies for non-existent superweapons, humanity had been quietly revolutionizing computer science. The Syndicate's neural networks were impressive, but fundamentally limited by their rigid hierarchical structure. Human quantum computers worked differently, embracing chaos rather than trying to control it. Initiating test sequence, Reena announced. Running Battlefield Simulation Alpha. The quantum processor sprang to life, modeling countless possible scenarios simultaneously. Where traditional computers, even the Alliance's advanced systems, had to examine possibilities sequentially, quantum computing explored all possibilities at once. It was the difference between reading a book page by page and absorbing the entire contents instantly. Results coming in, Marcus murmured, watching as the simulation completed in seconds rather than hours. Time to full strategic analysis, 2.3 seconds. Accuracy rating, 99.99%. Reena whistled softly. That's twice as fast as yesterday. The learning algorithms are evolving faster than predicted. That's because we're not trying to control them, Marcus replied. We're letting them evolve naturally, finding their own optimal paths. The Alliance would never allow that kind of unpredictability in their systems. A quiet alarm sounded, and both scientists turned to see General Diana Torres entering the lab, her expression grim but determined. Please tell me you have good news, doctors. Our intel suggests the Alliance is preparing a major offensive. They're not buying our bluff anymore. Marcus gestured to the results displaying across the lab screens. See for yourself, General. The quantum system isn't just analyzing their potential strategies, it's developing countermeasures faster than they can implement them. Diana studied the data, her military training allowing her to grasp the tactical implications immediately. You're telling me this system can predict their moves before they make them? Better than that, Rena interjected. It's predicting moves they haven't even thought of yet. Their neural networks are powerful but predictable. They follow set patterns, established protocols. Our system sees possibilities they can't even imagine. Which means, Marcus added, we can be ready for attacks they haven't even planned yet. We're not just seeing their next move, we're seeing every move they could possibly make. Diana's expression hardened with resolve. How soon can we implement this across our defense network? That's the beauty of it, Rena smiled. We already have. The quantum network has been gradually integrating with our defense systems for the past month. Every satellite, every sensor array, every defensive installation, they're all part of the quantum web now. And the Alliance has no idea, Marcus added. They're still trying to figure out how we created impossible missiles. They'll never think to look for an advancement in computing because their entire civilization is built on the assumption that their neural networks are the pinnacle of possible achievement. A new alert flashed across the screens. Alliance ships had been detected entering the outer solar system. Their formation was perfect, their approach exactly as their military doctrine demanded. And that was their fatal flaw. They're coming, Diana observed grimly. A lot more ships than last time. Our bluff won't work again. It doesn't need to, Marcus replied, watching as the quantum system began generating response scenarios. They're fighting the last battle, using strategies designed to counter weapons we never had. Meanwhile, we're fighting the next battle, one they don't even know has begun. The quantum processor hummed, its crystalline structure pulsing with possibilities. Across Earth's defense network, systems began adapting, evolving, preparing for attacks that hadn't yet been launched. The Alliance's perfect formation was already defeated, they just didn't know it yet. Maintain radio silence, Diana ordered. Let them think we're unprepared. The longer they stick to their doctrine, the more thoroughly we can counter it. As the Alliance fleet approached, Marcus watched the quantum predictions unfold with a mixture of pride and sadness. The aliens weren't evil, they were just trapped by their own certainty, unable to conceive of alternatives to their established ways of thinking. In their quest for perfect order, they had sacrificed the one thing that made advancement possible, the capacity to embrace chaos. Look, Rena pointed to a new data stream. The system is already adapting our defensive grid based on their approach vector. By the time they enter weapons range, we'll have counters in place for every possible attack pattern. And they'll never understand how we did it, Marcus added softly. Because they're looking for better weapons, when our real advantage is simply being willing to think differently. The Alliance fleet drew closer, their formation unchanging, their strategy transparent to humanity's quantum predictive systems. They were about to learn that in a universe of infinite possibilities, the most dangerous enemy wasn't the one with the biggest weapons, it was the one who could see all possible futures at once. Admiral Kyla Rodriguez watched the holographic display as the Alliance fleet entered the inner solar system. Their formation was immaculate, a perfect sphere of capital ships surrounded by layers of support vessels and fighters. According to every tactical manual ever written, it was unbeatable. They've passed Mars orbit, her tactical officer reported. No deviation from predicted course. Quantum analysis confirms 99.9% probability they'll maintain current formation until engagement range. Kyla allowed herself a small smile. The Alliance's perfect formation was about to become their perfect trap. Status of operation checkmate. All pieces in position, Admiral. Stealth satellites show no indication they've detected our preparations. Their sensors are still focused on searching for our impossible weapons. The Alliance fleet had brought enough firepower to reduce Earth to slag. Their ships carried weapons that could crack planets, shields that could withstand supernovas. But they had forgotten the most fundamental rule of warfare: the superior force doesn't always win. "Begin Phase 1, Kyla ordered. "Let's show them why humans invented chess." Across the solar system, carefully hidden quantum receivers activated. The Alliance's perfect formation suddenly found itself in the middle of a sensor chaos storm. Every ship's instruments began reporting different, contradictory information. Their neural networks, designed to process clear data through hierarchical channels, began experiencing the electronic equivalent of migraines. "They're responding exactly as predicted," the tactical officer reported. "Formation is maintaining cohesion, but individual ships are reducing speed to compensate for sensor interference. Their neural networks are attempting to reach consensus on conflicting data." That was the beauty of the human approach. Where the Alliance sought perfect information before acting, humans had millennia of experience making decisions with incomplete or contradictory data. The Alliance's greatest strength, their unified neural network, was about to become their greatest weakness. "Phase 2, Kyla commanded. "Deploy the pawns." Thousands of small, automated drones emerged from hiding places throughout the asteroid belt. They weren't weapons, they were simply mirrors, designed to reflect and amplify the sensor confusion. The Alliance fleet found itself in a hall of mirrors, each ship's sensors reporting hundreds of false contacts. "Their formation is starting to fragment," Tactical reported with satisfaction. Individual ship commanders are breaking protocol, trying to verify sensor data independently. The neural network is experiencing cascading confusion as different ships report different realities. Kyla nodded. The Alliance's rigid hierarchy meant every contradiction had to be resolved before action could be taken. They literally couldn't conceive of acting without perfect information. And that's why they were about to lose. Phase 3. Deploy the Knights. Small, agile Earth ships emerged from hiding, darting through the gaps appearing in the Alliance formation. They carried no weapons, their only purpose was to exist where Alliance doctrine said they couldn't possibly be, creating even more confusion in the enemy neural network. "Alliance fleet is entering full confusion protocol," Tactical announced. Their neural network is shutting down to prevent further contradictions. Ships are reverting to individual control. And that was checkmate. Without their neural network, the Alliance ships were just individual vessels, powerful, but uncoordinated. Their perfect formation had become a perfect target. "Send the signal," Kyla ordered. "Let's see if they're ready to talk." The message was broadcast on all frequencies: Alliance Fleet Command. "Your neural network has been compromised. Your formation is broken. Your ships are isolated. You have two choices: retreat, or discover exactly what other impossible things humans have achieved. You have 5 minutes to decide." The response came almost immediately. The Alliance fleet was already turning, individual ships breaking formation to plot retreat vectors. They had come expecting to face impossible weapons. Instead, they had faced something far more dangerous: impossible tactics. As the enemy fleet retreated, Kyla's tactical officer shook his head in amazement. "They still don't understand what happened, do they? They think we hacked their neural network somehow." "Of course they don't understand," Kyla replied. "We didn't beat them with superior technology. We beat them with confusion and chaos, concepts their rigid hierarchy literally cannot process. They'll spend years trying to figure out what technology we used to defeat them. When all we really used was mirrors and misdirection," the tactical officer chuckled. "Sun Tzu would be proud." Sun Tzu, chess masters, stage magicians, humanity's greatest tactical advances have always come from understanding that perception shapes reality. Kyla watched the Alliance ships vanish into fold space. "They'll be back, of course. But next time they'll be preparing to fight this battle, while we'll have something entirely new ready. Because that was humanity's true advantage, not the ability to create impossible weapons," but the ability to think impossible thoughts. In a universe of rigid rules and hierarchies, the species that could embrace chaos would always have the edge. The Alliance would never understand how they had been defeated. Their perfect order, their unified consciousness, their technological supremacy, none of it could stand against humanity's greatest weapon, imagination unbound by assumptions about what was possible. The High Council of the Syndicate Alliance convened an emergency session for the first time in 1,000 cycles. Holographic projections of the most powerful beings in the galaxy flickered as they struggled to comprehend their recent defeats. Supreme Counselor Vexnor's neural patterns radiated frustration. 3 failed offensives. Impossible weapons. Sensor jamming technology beyond our understanding. How are these primitives defeating us? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Lyra Nash, the first human permitted to address the High Council, stood calmly before them. As a xenoanthropologist captured during the first invasion attempt, she had been studying their society just as they studied her. "You're asking the wrong question," Lyra said. "The technology isn't defeating you. Our lack of technology is." The council chamber erupted in confused neural patterns. Vexnor's thoughts cut through the chaos. "Explain. Your civilization is like a supercomputer, incredibly powerful, but centralized. Humans are like the internet, seemingly chaotic, but incredibly resilient. You can't defeat us because there's no central point to strike." She gestured to the battle recordings. "Every time you attack, you expect to find a command center, a unified defense strategy. Instead, you find thousands of independent groups adapting and responding in unique ways. You disable one defense system, 3 more spring up using different approaches. But your species has leaders," another counselor protested. "Hierarchies. Command structures. We have organization, yes. But not control. Every human settlement, every research team, every defense force is developing solutions independently. We share information, but we don't wait for orders. When you attacked Mumbai, they developed quantum interference patterns. When you hit Buenos Aires, they created gravitational lensing deflectors. Sydney came up with temporal displacement shields. Different approaches," Vexnor mused. "Inefficient. Wasteful. Inefficient, yes. But adaptive. You can't predict our responses because we don't know what they'll be ourselves. Your neural networks analyze our previous strategies to predict our next move. But we don't have a next move, we have millions of potential moves being developed simultaneously." The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Their entire civilization was built on unity, on perfect coordination through their neural networks. The humans' chaotic, decentralized approach wasn't a weakness to be exploited, it was a strength they couldn't counter. "Consider this," Lyra continued. "When you destroyed Earth's satellite network in your first attack, you expected our communications to fail. Instead, within hours, civilians had rigged replacement networks using everything from ham radios to quantum-entangled particles. You can't shut down a system that doesn't exist. Then how do you coordinate?" Vexnor demanded. "How do you function without consensus? We don't need consensus. We need diversity. Every failed approach teaches us something new. Every successful defense shares its innovations. We have no central point of failure because we have no center at all." The council's neural patterns showed increasing distress. Their perfect hierarchy, their unified consciousness, everything they had built their empire upon, was being challenged by a species that embraced chaos as a strategy. "Your technology is superior," Lyra acknowledged. "Your ships are more powerful. Your weapons more advanced. But you've sacrificed adaptability for efficiency. When something unexpected happens, your entire network has to analyze, achieve consensus, and respond as one. We just react." She smiled slightly. "You see our division as weakness. Our conflicts, our arguments, our competing approaches, you think they make us vulnerable. But they make us strong. Because when you attack one of us, you don't face a single response. You face millions of responses, each one different, each one adapting, each one learning. The council chamber erupted in conflicting neural patterns as the members struggled to process this paradigm shift. Their perfect order was being undone not by superior technology, but by its opposite, embraced chaos. So you see, Lyra concluded, you're not losing to our weapons or our tactics. You're losing to our nature. Every time you attack, you make us stronger, because you force us to adapt. And adaptation, not perfection, is what drives evolution. As the council dissolved into confused deliberation, Lyra's words hung in the air like a prophecy. The Alliance had spent millennia perfecting their unity, never realizing that their greatest strength had become their greatest weakness. They had achieved perfect order, only to find themselves helpless against the creative power of chaos. The final battle for Earth began not with a bang, but with a question. Why do you fight? Supreme Counselor Vexnor's neural patterns rippled across space. The entire Alliance fleet hung in high orbit, weapons primed, enough firepower to reduce Earth's surface to glass. The response came from every radio, every quantum channel, every conceivable frequency. Millions of human voices, speaking as individuals yet somehow unified in purpose, because we can imagine a better way. The Alliance fleet sensors detected no superweapons, no impossible technology, no reality-defying defenses. Just billions of humans, each preparing to resist in their own way. Your species is inefficient, Vexnor broadcast. Chaotic. Divided. You waste resources developing multiple solutions where one perfect answer would suffice. Join our neural network. Accept our guidance. Achieve perfection. Professor Marcus Wong's voice cut through the chaos, broadcasting from MIT, but that's exactly why you can't win. You see our greatest strength as a weakness. Admiral Rodriguez joined from her flagship, you achieved perfection, then stopped evolving. We never stopped. Dr. Nash, still with the Alliance Council, added her voice, your neural network makes you powerful, but predictable. We're unpredictable because we're imperfect. The Alliance fleet began its attack pattern, exactly as their military doctrine demanded. And humanity responded, not as one, but as many. Quantum computers predicted their strategies. Mirror drones confused their sensors. Every city, every settlement, every individual human responded differently. Where the Alliance sought to impose order, they found only creative chaos. Impossible, Vexnor's thoughts radiated disbelief. Our simulations showed victory was certain. That's the problem, came the reply, this time from a teenage hacker in Lagos. You can only simulate what you can imagine. And you stopped imagining new possibilities 1,000 cycles ago. The Alliance fleet's perfect formation began to break as they encountered defenses they couldn't predict. Each human settlement had developed its own protection. Some used technology. Others used tactics. Many used both. There was no pattern to analyze, no central strategy to counter. And then humanity revealed their true advantage. We've been studying your neural network, Marcus Wong announced. Not to hack it. Not to destroy it. But to understand it. And we found something fascinating. Across the Alliance fleet, neural patterns began shifting. Not from external attack, but from internal change. Your network doesn't just connect you, Dr. Nash explained. It constrains you. Forces consensus. Demands perfection. But networks don't have to work that way. The quantum computers humanity had developed weren't weapons, they were examples. Demonstrations of how consciousness could be networked without being constrained. How unity could exist without uniformity. Throughout the Alliance fleet, individual minds began to awaken. The neural network didn't collapse, it evolved. Changed. Adapted. This is humanity's gift to you, Admiral Rodriguez broadcast. Not destruction. Not submission. But choice. The freedom to be imperfect. To disagree. To imagine new possibilities. The Alliance fleet hung motionless in orbit as its crews experienced individual thought for the first time in millennia. Some were frightened. Others excited. Each reaction unique. Different. Human. We could destroy you, Vex nor realized. Our weapons are still superior. You could, Marcus agreed. But why would you want to? We're not your enemy. We're your next evolution. The Alliance fleet departed Earth's orbit not in retreat, but in transformation. They had come seeking to perfect humanity, only to find that humanity's imperfection was itself a kind of perfection. In the years that followed, the Alliance changed. Their neural network remained, but evolved to embrace diversity rather than enforce uniformity. They learned from humanity that true strength comes not from perfect order, but from the adaptive power of creative chaos. And humanity? They continued as they always had, arguing, competing, collaborating, creating. Imperfect. Inefficient. Endlessly imaginative. Forever evolving. Because that was the truth the Alliance had forgotten, perfection isn't a destination. It's a journey. And that journey is best traveled not in lockstep, but in the chaotic dance of endless possibility.